First pick, AL opting for blue side in our right of first selection game. Looks like the Cassiopeia going to be locked in first.
This is a massive takeaway from Shanks, who has basically spammed Cass every game he possibly can so far this split. It's actually the first series that they're going to get a chance to play where he has not played Cassiopeia. So pretty big pick there. It's immediately going to be the Victor lock-in as well. Both of these champions are flexible. They're going to pair it with the Jarvan, the best jungler in the game right now, at least in terms of consistency. But early picking these mages opens up so many more options because, again, both of these bot laners absolutely can play them.
One of the big priorities when you lock in a mage into the bot lane is to make sure your top side does have a decent amount of physical damage. So the Jarvan, a good start for that on anyone's Legend side. You'd imagine Top Esports would respond in a similar way. Unless they just want to go for the OP pick in the lock, it looks like instead they're going to opt right now for Tian's Lee Sin. Always a strong pick. And we'll see what exactly they want to finish off their first rotation with.
Lee Sin is just so strong right now in the meta. I think we saw at MSI the real power of this champion if piloted by a good player, and Lee Sin has always been one of the primary counters to Jarvan. The Cataclysm doesn't matter to you at all because you can dash right out of it, and your early pressure actually makes it really hard for Jarvan to snowball and scale in the way that he really wants to, especially pairing that up with something like Jace. If you have the scaling threat in Cassio, whether it's mid or bot lane, you're in a kind of scary spot as AL. They're going to answer with the Shen. This is the proactivity that we wanted from Kael. Shen on top of a Jarvan engaging is going to be very dangerous to deal with. It keeps the option for Victor bot open because Victor is so self-sustaining in the 1v1 or the 2v1 if need be. But, you know, I really like the start to the draft for Top Esports personally.
I think one of the biggest things about about Creme locking in this Jace here on B3 is just the fact that it is a very flexible pick as well. Probably not expecting it to go into the jungle with the Lee Sin already picked up, but it still can go into either solo lane. Also could theoretically go towards the bottom lane. Still a lot of things for AL to think about as we enter this second phase of the draft. Currently, we see the Olaf taken away from Breathe. We're expecting Kael to play that Shen, although maybe if Flandre was still on the team, could have some flex power there too.
It's interesting to see if they want to go for this like hard counter pick style. Again, AL will have the counter pick in this one. If they want to leave that for top lane and, you know, really lock in whether or not Jace is going to be going up there, that could be an interesting kind of change of pace. Either that, or you can just lock in a tank, which I think is, in my opinion, the best case scenario here for AL. Curious to see if they're scared of that possibility or if they just want to take away these more aggressive options like potentially the Yorick as well that can pull apart the Jace in a side lane. It's going to be the Rumble. Still very strong. It's gotten nerfed quite a bit, but definitely worth taking off the board.
Now it's up to anyone's Legend. Things like the Malphite traditional counters into Jace, as is the Yorick here for Breathe. Talked about him being on an island a decent amount in this first week, and if they're going to try to continue that style, it's not the worst thing for them to do.
Yeah, I think the Yorick is great here. I think it plays into AL style where they kind of want to leave him on that island, let him do his own thing. You can play around him a little bit more because of the Shen ultimate, so if he does get collapsed upon, there are ways to be able to counter that. On top of that, if Victor, Jarvan want to start team fights, you can actually create a lot of pressure with this Yorick that is basically unmatchable by the Jace later on in the game. So overall, you know, find it to be a good pick here. We'll see what Top Esports want to round things out with. It is going to be the Alistar lock-in. This is going to be the big question. Are we flexing the Cassio bot lane? Are we sending it mid lane? Is Jace going mid lane and we're picking top lane here? There are still so many things that could be left to be answered for Top Esports.
This last pick, of course, could be a lot of different positions still as we await for what this could be.
Oh.
It is going to be a Rise selection, so just going to go towards Creme likely in the mid lane, and we are expecting to see JackeyLove on this Cassio down bottom.
I'm going to assume that this is Rise mid lane and it's Jace top. There is a world where this is Rise top, Jace mid, Cassio bot. I don't think that's going to be the case, but, you know, you never really know. Rise plus Lee Sin is incredibly dangerous. Rise plus Cassio is also very scary in the later part of the game, but outside of Jace, you really have no range to play into. This Victor is going to be a little bit scarier in teamfights if you don't get a massive early game lead. Curious to see what gets to be the answer here, and it is going to be the Galio, so double mages in the bot lane just as we predicted.
Victor versus likely Cassio down there as we wrap up our draft of game number 1. Still some flexibility options, as you mentioned. The clock has to go down to 20 seconds, but you seem pretty confident in that being the full lineup, and it looks like that is what they're leaning towards.
I think it would be more shocking if they went a different direction than this. I think Specifically, the Galio and the Ryze both want to roam. You can do that the best out of the mid lane position, but generally, I'm looking at both of these comps and I'm seeing a massive mid-game spike for Lee Sin plus Ryze once he hits that 2-item power spike and starts to get those stacking items online. Jace is very scary. If they can get a big lead during that phase of the game, I think it's going to be hard to be able to fight back despite their lack of range. However, I think if you can get into a spot where AL can control the side lanes a little bit more, I mean, you have Yorick plus Galio plus Shen. You have so many different ways to be able to play the map and the macro game a little bit better. It's going to be a fun game if AL can control it.
All going to go down to that jungle support synergy. Once again, for anyone's legend, Tarzan and Kael have a lot to do in this early game if they want to try to prevent this late game scaling that top esports really has with this Ryze, the Casio, even the Jace up in the top lane. AL want to play a little bit more chaotic. They want to split up the map. They want to skirmish a little bit more, specifically with Breathe playing this Yorick. Again, this new top laner for anyone's legend, confirmed now to fully be the starter for the time being, with Flandre officially leaving the squad. Look a little bit better than he did in week 1 as we get ready for game 1 of anyone's legend and top esports, kicking things off in week 2 in Shanghai.
AL fans are showing out for us Grapes. They have absolutely shown up here today. They're definitely winning the fan support battle, which I think is very, very cool. I think AL's got a lot to cheer for at the start of this split. Don't exactly love their game 1 draft. I think the lack of damage is definitely going to be a little bit scary, but again, they've definitely got some tools in a side lane. They're going to need to make sure they can survive this early game, though, as we get a look at top esports, at least starting off some of these lanes pretty well.
Yeah, see current pushing in for Zuian on the Jace into the Yorick. And typically in this matchup, the first couple of levels, a little bit tougher here for the melee champion against the pseudo-ranged Jace, but then once you hit level 3, level 5, get a couple extra points in your queue and the ability to lock this Jace into the cage, that's where things get a little bit more dicey for Zuian specifically. So he's going to have to make advantage of this early game if he wants to try to snowball that lead. Snowballing would be very beneficial here for top esports, given how much they scale in this composition, and so it'd be really big for Tian to get active on the map early.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so curious to see an opposite side start here, because Lee Sin is going to be pathing towards that bot side with the Casio Alistar. It's going to be a much more difficult lane to actually try and protect in this instance. It's just going to be a pretty passive early game, I think, from both of these junglers, unless there's a massive mistake on the top side, but no mistake made. The Jace is just going to back, take his small little CS lead early on, be able to pick up his tier, and continue on throughout the rest of this early laning phase. Should be relatively standard for both of these teams as we start to get closer and closer to level 3, and we can see JackeyLove and Creme, they've definitely been together a long time, and it's not just that they've been together, they are carrying this team right now. They've both been great at the start of the split. We'll see if they can step up here today.
Wow, 300th total game, and that doesn't even include split 1, obviously, where JackeyLove took a bit of time off. Now returning here to the squad, and ever since Creme has joined top esports, it has kind of been the same story, right? A lot of international appearances, not a ton of international success. However, with Creme playing the way that he has been playing, top esports are hoping that this is the year potentially for Worlds where things change. Tian currently level 4, taking that Scuttle Crab in the bottom side, and maybe looking for a gank mid. It looks like Shanks knows better and is going to take a reset at this stage.
Yeah, we'll see if Tian overextends here. Should be able to just hop his way out, even with Tarzan in the area, just ships passing in the night in the jungle as he's going to go farm his Raptors. Is going to have a ward on top of him for this, but generally a neutral start for Jarvan versus a Lee Sin is going to be considered pretty positive in these early couple of levels. Once this dragon spawns in 1 minute, and especially once these grubs spawn in about 4 minutes, that's when we're really going to get a good idea of where these teams want to put their priority in the early game. But at least for now, it's going pretty well as we get a small trade on the bot side.
Joe headbutts his way out of the gravity well to make sure he does not get stunned. Looks like just some trading back and forth here. Anyone's Legend finally getting a bit of an opportunity to push in the bottom lane, and this will leave Kael with his first opportunity to try to make a roam somewhere on the map.
I mean, that's what you want. You want to get this Shen active as quickly as possible. Kael, you know, we highlighted it in the pre-show. He has been so aggressive in terms of these level 3 and level 4 roams. I don't have the numbers in front of me because of the lack of tracking that we have for the LPL, but he's got to hit level 6 later than almost any other player in the world on average. It's just insane how willing he is, I think, to give over a lot of that tempo in the early game to make sure the map is under control. This is a very macro-oriented comp for AL. This is the kind of stuff they were succeeding on last year. I am worried a bit about what their damage looks like if Hope is not in a dominant position, but Kael can get moving around the map early on. I think that's going to be a good thing.
Looks like so far it really has just been the 2v2 down there in the bot lane, which is not necessarily what we expected, but now with Kael taking his first reset, a chance for him to make some plays across the map. You can see him already headed up mid as Zhuo is there first, 5-minute mark. Level 6 now hit by both of these top laners as they're skirmishing just a tad. Maiden coming out for Breathe, and that's going to force Zuian away.
Overall, fine enough, I would say, for Breathe. You just want to neutralize this laning phase as much as you can. Of course, if you get strong on the Yorick, it's going to be kind of tough to stop this for top esports. I keep harping, I guess, on the fact that this team has very good macro in this game, or at least has very good macro options with the Yorick and the Galio and the Shen, but I think it's so core to the identity of AL that it's really important that these solo laners stay active in the early game. Dragon's going to be started up here by top esports, and it looks like it's just going to be given over with that early power coming in from the Lee and the push on the bot side.
Yeah, looks like no contest on this first dragon of the game. Tarzan more than happy to instead go for a scuttle on the top side. Should get him closer to that Cataclysm, but as you mentioned here at the start of this game, Kman, anyone's legend would love to get off to an explosive early game, just given the nature of their composition. I think even though they have not picked up a kill just yet, now having level 6 on both Tarzan and Shanks is going to be a good help for them to accelerate the game a bit more.
Yeah, Tarzan especially having that small level 6 advantage is kind of important because it does give him a little bit of agency right now on what he wants to do. If he just pats bot lane, it could be a little bit scary, but AL are gonna, for the most part, respect the fact that, you know, the play might not go according to plan on the bot side if that Alistar ends up playing it well, even with the Jarvan at that level 6 power spike. I think the big thing for me is a minute and a half on these grubs. That's exactly where I think a lot of the fighting is probably going to break down between these two teams. The stacking of dragons from top esports is essential towards their win condition. I'm curious to see how much they want to invest into getting that resource on the top side.
It's like just going to be pushing and backing here for Breathe, as you see Creme having some decent trades in the mid lane as well. He's up about 15 CS over Shanks in this early laning phase. Now Kael maybe a bit out of position as the miasma comes down, forces him back away. However, perhaps a bait as Tarzan is coming in through the lane. Flash taunt, landing onto JackeyLove and the Arcane Storm coming down. Jackie forced to pop the Ghost, but that is all that top esports will be forced to burn. And it doesn't result in any kills going over just yet.
Well disengaged there by Zhuo. He needed to keep his AP carry safe there. That could have been very dangerous if the Cataclysm comes down. It's basically a doomed play, but you still have that ultimate available if you are Tarzan, so you can pretty effortlessly make your way back up to the top side here. Tian's going to be trying to steal this Gromp. See if he's going to be able to get away with this in time. Jarvan's making his way, and so is the Yorick.
I don't know if Tian's going to have enough time to finish this one off, as Tarzan has the level advantage and is just coming off of a reset with 2 extra long swords. So Tian ends up retreating, and him and Zhuo now have first pass at the grubs, which are about to spawn. Anyone's legend certainly aware of that, as they have sent Kael up to try and contest alongside his Jarvan.
Honestly, I'm just surprised that Tian backed away. Knowing Tian, I just figured he would flip the entire game over Grump, but he wants to flip it over Grubs instead, as he's going to start this up. This is a very dangerous fight for top esports. They're positioned okay, but AL are going to be able to get here for the most part first.
Yeah, they're going to have the early numbers. However, teleport is available on to Hope in just a couple of seconds, and that means that looks like Tian's going to back away. Just take one of those grubs and allow for Tarzan to claim the rest. You'd imagine that Breathe having push in the top lane had some impact in that as well.
Definitely the call that I would be making here. Breathe having that shove and the ability to get there first is super important on making that fight happen. Top esports in general don't feel the need to flip the game here on grubs. Denying 1 is really good for them. Just making sure that AL's comp that's entirely centered around these side lanes doesn't get the 3 grub buff, I think is definitely all you really need. Top esports can continue to level themselves up, get more items onto their double tier carries here with Ryze and Cassiopeia, and try to wait for that second dragon to spawn.
We'll be in less than 2 minutes, but hey, this is an LPL game with no kills in the first 9. Not necessarily what we were expecting. due to the nature of anyone's Legends composition, it looks like maybe Kael wants to change that here onto JackeyLove, but Hope unable to do a ton at this stage. You know, the point of these mages bot lane, Kman, is that they can just push these waves, stay alive, and then just like not have any impact. And we're kind of seeing that play across the map as the global philosophy so far in all 3 lanes.
I mean, you can think about them as basically third side laners or second side laners, depending on who your mid laner is, and that can be really valuable in a lot of instances. It means these supports don't really have to babysit and breathe. Be a target here.
Zuian getting caught in the Dark Procession, which makes it difficult for Joe to have much of an impact up there. In the mid lane, Creme looking for Shanks, pops the Ghost, but unable to decide to go under the tower. Would have likely been a 1-for-1.
Creme is kind of styling on Shanks right now in the mid lane. I think this is a Ryze favored matchup for sure early on in the game, but he's still doing a fantastic job of punishing a lot of those advantages. Almost a 600 gold lead just off the back of his CS alone. That's really impressive, and we highlighted Creme and how relevant he's been, not only in terms of getting involved with top esports, but the amount of damage he's been able to put out, more than any other mid laner on average in the entire league. He's going to be a big threat in this comp if that machine gun can get online.
Nearing that Rod of Ages completed, both him and JackeyLove going for similar builds to start this game off, just continuing to add on to the narrative of the scaling composition that top esports have. Of course, in these metas where there's no traditional marksman, so sometimes, you know, difficult to figure out who outscaled. I think right now, pretty easy to tell top esports will have a good time if we get to the late game with this kind of power duo of the mages here in the Ryze and Cassiopeia, and then Zuian also going for a tier item of his own.
I think that's especially true because they got that first dragon. Second dragon has spawned here. It's going to be a Hex Drake, so no Hex Soul. AL is actually in the area first. This is really important for them. They can hopefully force a fight in this and actually speed the pace of the game up.
Nobody wants to start this dragon just yet, though, but the vision currently in the hands of anyone's Legend. JackeyLove has the Ghost back up. Remember, it was burned a couple of minutes ago by Kael's flash. He also has his flash back up. Everybody has the opportunity to go for some sort of play with their summoner spells. It looks like that is just going to add to the caution that both teams are currently playing with. It is an even game state at this point, with anyone's Legend feeling maybe a little bit anxious to get a move on.
I mean, this is such an awkward spot for both teams. Hope has completed his Blackfire, and so theoretically, he should be the strongest person at this fight. If it does end up breaking down, that Victor is going to be doing a ton of damage with the Arcane Storm. He's just going to move mid lane, try to catch this wave, and continue to scale up as much as possible. You know, I do like top esports scaling. I think they're going to be much stronger in the 5v5s if they break down, but Hope is the damage piece on anyone's Legend, and if he can start to get more and more gold, if he can start to ramp further and further up, it's still going to be very good. Looks like Dragon has officially been started here by AL. This would be a massive get for them to stop the stacking of top esports if they can do it.
And they're going to do it. Tian opting instead to go for a red buff clear on his top side, and so it will be anyone's Legend securing that second dragon, evening things up and preventing you know, an early soul stack win con for their opponents in TES. Hope now rotating over to the mid lane as Shanks has now gone bottom and using the Arcane Storm to force Creme away. Now, top esports control the top side of the map as their name suggests, and with that dragon take, should mean Zuian will get a good opportunity to clear a couple of plates and deny a wave from Breathe.
I can't believe one of the most exciting things to happen in the TES AL game is top lane priority, but finally, we might potentially get a fight here. Just kidding, Tian's going to take the Gromp and run immediately away.
Little love tap is all that he will suffer from as Kael throws an auto attack as a bit of a deterrent for him to back away, but it's still the Gromp secured. Still a little bit of gold into the hands of the TES top side of the map. That's going to help Zuian out, who has been getting bullied a little bit by Breathe here in this early game. And now we're going to start to see the musical chairs here a little bit. This is the power of that flexibility with these mage bot lanes. You can kind of rotate players in and out now that these role quests are starting to be completed in order to get people into the best possible matchups.
Triple solo lanes are pretty good to be able to have at this point in the game, but this is the power spike, in my opinion, for AL. This is the part of the game that I think they probably need to be the most active. Same thing for top esports. Lee Sin is very, very scary right now. You've hit the Roa, even if it's not stacked quite yet on the Ryze and the Cassio. Jace is on one item. You're definitely in a spot where you're going to be able to fight in a lot of different areas. The question is, when is that actually going to pick up? The last top esports game I covered had 57 kills in it, and now we're sitting at 0 14 minutes in.
Yeah, what happened to that? I remember,
yeah, bring that back.
2 kills per minute? That sounds nice right about now.
Yeah.
It's like neither team wants to play that aggressive. I mean, again, stakes are high for what this best of 3 can hold for the regular season standings. Again, just a double round robin over 5 weeks, so we are really rapid firing this first round robin here. It's going to be teams playing 2 to 3 matches a week in order to find out their placement for the upcoming postseason, essentially getting a spot towards Worlds.
Definitely important to pick this up. I've been highlighting this a lot at the start of the split. For as much as we can go, oh, it's the start of the split, it's only week 2. There are 5 weeks of this split, as Creme is caught a little bit here, could be in a bit of danger on the rise, is just going to pop the Ghost and just going to make his way out once again. York getting side lane pressure, but it ultimately results in nothing. 5 seconds on the Rift Herald spawning. Please tell me we're going to be able to get a fight around that objective.
Well,
Hope.
Tian looking to try to make something happen here in the mid lane, but Hope just a little bit too quick with those Sorcerer shoes. Backs on out and will be able to survive. Looks like it will just be Tian making his way towards that Herald pit, but doesn't want to start it. With 4 members still on the top side of the map here for anyone's legend. Tian going to spot out Kael, who is only level 6, but he pops Spirit's Refuge to give himself a little bit more defensive. So it will be Hale backing away for now, but now it will be the Rift Herald, surely, where we see a big fight break out.
Surely this is the time. Top Esports should feel comfortable to be able to step up, and AL are in a great spot to be able to control the area. I don't know, though. It looks like we might be disengaging at least a little bit. Galio has the potential to be able to ult in, but Zuian has his teleport available. This could truly be a 5v5 if it's set up properly. For now, it looks like it's just going to be AL starting up on the Herald. We'll see if the contest comes through.
It is a 5v5 if it does end up breaking out. And all members have their first item spikes completed. It looks like AL, with those spikes not being Rod of Ages, feel a little bit stronger at this point, and Top Esports feel the same way. They're starting up this Herald. Tarzan should be able to get it for free, and it will be another objective going AL's way. The trade, of course, will be this bot lane tower. Zuian was really able to bully Shanks down there in the bottom lane and give them zero opportunity to defend that tier 1 turret.
I cannot believe that the first thing to die in this game is bot lane tier 1. That is just the most shocking thing that you could possibly tell me in an LPL game. Still, here we are, 0-0 at almost 17 minutes in, and Top Esports have gotten a pretty big lead for themselves now. To be fair, almost all of that is on the back of Jace, which I think is a relevant thing to be able to point out. Jace is going to be a bit of a problem. I generally like Top Esports comp a little bit more if you're going to be taking 5v5s, but if the strategy for AL was to try to build themselves up enough of a lead to be able to get gold into priority targets, then I think they could still be in an okay spot. The problem is that their side laners are behind, and that's probably the most important part of this comp. I think TES feel comfortable with the way that this game has gone so far, and I don't think it's going to get worse for them, despite the fact that they've not gotten any kills at this point.
Yeah, I mean, right now, when you take a look at what a 5v5 looks like, a lot of the damage for AL has to come through Hope. And right now, Hope is not really in a spot where he can be that full 1v5. He's working towards that second item Rocket Belt. Now, you see a skirmish here in the enemy red buff. So it looks like it was Tarzan to secure it, and now both junglers will be duking it out just a bit. Flag and drag lands onto the Lee Sin. Meanwhile, Shanks and Creme also going for a bit of a scrap. Nobody ends up falling, but the dragon now has spawned, with AL having a health advantage up on the top side. It will be a 2v2 between the top laners and the supports, but Zhuo with a nice heal will be able to get himself away from the Dark Procession. Dragon started up here now by TES. Tian and Creme. Going in is Tarzan. It's a 1v2 for now, but Shanks has already arrived. Goes forward with the Justice Punch. It looks like the Stand United was not utilized, at least completely. And so it will be Top Esports going back over to the Dragons at 2,000 HP and secured by Tian. It's a 2-1 lead in that department for Top Esports. Teleports coming in, and now we will get our full-on 5v5, but it might not be the 5v5 for long, as Tian will go down to the Herald of all things, and it will be Tarzan picking up first blood. It'll be a trade 1-for-1 as Shanks went down on the other side, but it looks like AL's not done. Zuian is flashed upon by both Kael and Tarzan, and Hope is the one to pick up the stack of cash. AL go 2-for-1 despite losing the dragon.
Very desynced fight from both of these teams, but we finally get blood in this game, Grapes. I've been waiting on this. The Herald charge in the mid lane is consequential. I don't think they're going to be able to pick up this turret, but importantly, Top Esports is able to get the dragon. I think a big win condition for them here is going to be their ability to potentially stack those dragons as we see a play happen on the top side there. A little bit of a replay of what Kael was doing with that Stand United in that fight, but Definitely not ideal, I think, for TES. They could have played that fight a lot more synergistically. Tian felt completely disconnected from what the rest of his team was doing still. At the end of the day, 2 for 1 with a dragon on top, at least for top esports, is not too bad. As we get a replay, I mean, everything already happened before this fight ended up breaking out. Obviously, both of these teams want to make sure they can stack this. The Battle Herald is dropped. Tian flashing so early out of this fight kind of signals to me that TES want to disengage, especially because Creme is so low. The fact that you're flashing out as Tian and then re-engaging on a Herald just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Yes, you trade for the Galio 1 for 1, but Zuian's a little bit overextended in this area on the Jace. He's also disconnected from the rest of this team. This doesn't really feel like a good fight from top esports in general with the way that they had set it up, and now Kael can be caught.
Right back to the scene of the crime we go, into the Dragon Pit where Kael is caught trying to ward, and Zuian will get his revenge, picking up his first kill of the game.
Definitely opening things up at this point. Very good collapse here for top esports, especially getting kills onto the Jace. I think it's going to be really important here. That's 2-item Jace. This guy's going to hit like an absolute truck right now, and he's getting even more in a side lane as he's going to be able to pick up a lot of the wave here. Breed's going to have a pretty hard time down so much gold. You know, for as much as the gold is even globally right now for TES, I think it's in the exact right spots, and I think as long as they continue to make plays like that, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, crucial thing for top esports, despite getting poked and prodded a little bit and eventually losing out on a 2 for 1, is that they were able to secure that second dragon. That Chemtech going to be pretty big, especially you know, with how these fights have been going so far. You need all the little advantages that you can potentially get for yourselves. It did seem like, though, around that dragon fight, that TES was a little bit disorganized in terms of what exactly they wanted to do. You saw JackeyLove back away as Zuian went forward, and that was the result, you know, of this Jace going down.
They are not going to save the mid lane turret there, as it's going to fall, and Hope's going to get a little bit more gold in his pocket. AL is starting to become a bit of a problem in these side lanes, getting more and more gold into the pocket of Yorick and Galio and Victor, which is important for this comp, but you're absolutely right. That fight scared me for top esports because it really didn't feel like they had a clear direction on what they were supposed to be doing. Creme had 0 health. It was clear that JackeyLove was disengaging. Zuian goes full in when the rest of his team is already dead. Just didn't really feel like the communication was there. It's been a problem for top esports already at the start of this split for them to be able to play as a unit together. That's going to be a big issue for them if they can't get on board with that towards the later part of this game.
Oh, fight for the crab. This time will go Tarzan's way. Both junglers sitting at level 13, but Tarzan has had the advantage just in terms of picking up some extra camps. And now has about a 1,500 gold lead over the Lee Sin. They need all the damage that they can get in these 5v5, so Tarzan being a bit accelerated, you can see he is going for a more damage-oriented build. It is the Sundered Sky, Black Cleaver, and then most likely working towards that Death's Dance.
Definitely needed this game as we get the dreaded pause that we all hate to see here in the LPL. We can only
seems to have been able to do that decently well, at least so far this season. The thing is, though, normally that would result in a strong top side of the map, and so far Breathe has not necessarily been that for his squad. Is looking better, at least in this game specifically, as we're back to live here at 22 minutes.
Back to live and back to our, you know, kind of normal game state. Dragon in about a minute, I think, is the most important thing on the map. Yes, Baron has spawned. It's going to be almost impossible for either of these teams to really contest around Baron right now. This third Dragon, this soul point for top esports, I think is crucial towards the success for them in this game. I think this game becomes a ton easier if they can get this Chem Soul closer and closer to online, especially because they can force these fights around the river where Ryze and Cassio are going to have a much easier time being able to play that front-to-back style with things like Alistar on the front line. I think this is going to be a big turning point in the game in about 30 seconds.
And so far, it is anyone's legend getting to the river first, similar to how they did just a few minutes ago during that last skirmish. I think a good thing that they were able to do was establish positioning around the river and then utilize things like the Victor lasers to issue poke onto the main carries of TES, resulted in the fight going their way once the dragon ended up being secured. You currently see Shanks on the top side pushing a wave in. He has his teleport, likely to join his team soon. There it is, being channeled onto that ward as Kael has already pulled the trigger. Onto JackeyLove, who has to immediately pop the ghost. Shanks goes in, finds the taunt only onto Zhuo, who has the Unbreakable Will. And Tarzan waiting to go in with the Flag and Drag as Breathe currently at half HP. Zuian coming in with the empowered shield of the teleport himself at level 15 should be a big boon to his squad as the dragon still has not been started up.
That's a horrible engage from AL. They burn so much to try and burst down the Cassio and miss a lot of their damage. TES has way more tools right now if they can just get into this fight.
Yeah, okay. Arcane Storm no longer available, but still a lot of the crucial engage tools for AL are. Dragon started up barely, but then reset. as we continue to do this song and dance around the river. Tagged by Tian with the Sonic Wave. Top Esports will go in first. Tarzan looking for a Cataclysm onto a backline carry, but both of them have Flash at this point. The knockup lands onto Tian. Dragon at 20,000 HP goes in, secured by Tarzan, and AL even up the Dragon count. Cataclysm goes in onto 2, and there comes the double flag and drag. Hero's entrance ends up getting cancelled though. That means there's no knockup to follow up. A huge Dark Procession delays the backline of TES and results in AL splitting the fight in half. Shanks goes in. It will be Zuian that drops dead, and Creme and JackeyLove still on the run. The Realm Warp will lead the Rise to safety, but AL end up with a massive win around this 4th Drake.
I guess I have egg on my face because I just watched Yorick down 1,500 gold carry a team fight as Shanks overextends a little bit, but he should be just fine. Breathe was massive on the Yorick. Massive win in general for AL in terms of their success chance in this game. The fact that they got the Dragon and stopped Soul Point as well is a huge boon to them. And we were worried about where that damage was going to come from. Well, it came from Hope in that fight. I was worried that the Arcane Storm was not going to be back up in time. I guess that's where the egg is on my face because he got 2 ults off in that fight. We get a replay of exactly how this happened. This is just a straight 50-50 flip. Both Tarzan and Tian are in the area. This is just who's going to land the smite, and Tarzan is going to be able to get it down. Petrifying Gaze only lands onto the Shen. That is a massive disadvantage in terms of the engage coming out. And look at how much space is bought here by Kael despite the fact that he's dying. Breathe is basically zoning off every single main carry, and oh my goodness, the cage just completely shuts off any counter engage from Top Esports. I mean, we were asking if Breathe was going to be an upgrade to Flandre. Well, Breathe is kind of a team fight menace. That's what he's been known for throughout his entire career. He's absolutely showing it off in this game.
So Top Esports don't have to worry about just one cage still, locking down their backline carry. It's got to be 2, as Breathe was able to find a really great Yorick W. One of the highest value Yorick Ws I've potentially seen in my time casting League of Legends. That was incredibly valuable. Results in AL picking up that Dragon, and they have swung the gold lead back into their favor. 2,500 now is the advantage with Baron still available, and now AL are the ones driving the tempo. This is the snowball that they wanted to roll here in this game 1. And Tarzan and Tian once again duking it out, but it's going to be the Jarvan who ends up winning this. He's got 3 items and a Stand United on his side. Kael coming forward, lands the taunt onto the Lee Sin. Another flag and drag will connect, and the Sonic Wave has no chance as Kael gets on the board.
Tian, buddy, it's too late. You had opportunities to fight this Jarvan, and you gave them away in the early game. This guy's 2,000 gold up at this point. He's got his Guardian Angel completed. There's just no way that you're going to be able to fight him for these jungle camps at this point, and it's just disrespect. This is now a 3k gold lead, and we talked about the fact that Victor is obviously such an integral part to this team comp in the back half of the game, but Jarvan is also a huge scaling threat. He is building damage. He is building to be a problem in the back end here, and he has absolutely become a big issue with that gold lead. The question now is how much can they get when they get a free 4v5 push with all of these objectives now on their side.
You see Hope really coming online as well. He's level 15. That's one of the advantages of playing these mages bot lane. You allow your support to roam around. You really get a ton of XP down there. Level 15 now, nearing that 3rd item in the Zhonya's. Hope going to become a massive part of this game. He already has been at this point. 3-0-2, nearly participating in every kill so far for AL.
I mean, it's just been a fantastic showcase for AL on staying patient and I guess understanding your win condition. I thought that the late game side lane control was going to be difficult to pull off if you weren't going to be able to get a lot of these early objectives. It's just not happening. I mean, AL, with their lack of damage, has been able to still overcome a lot of their 5v5 problems and be able to just outplay Top Esports in some key areas. This has been the story of these two teams throughout the entire year, even throughout last year as well. AL has just always had TES's number. That's very much continued in this game. Tarzan in particular, hitting that level 16, Guardian Angel completed. This is almost an impossible fight to take. Baron is on the map. Dragon, yes, is spawning in a minute, but I imagine that Purple Worm's going to be a bigger objective as I think it's started up here by AL.
Now can Top Esports find a response? Do not have a teleport on Creme, and he's currently stuck in the bot lane. Looks like Witchwoe and JackeyLove here. Gonna reset the Baron for now. Starting it up again, albeit very slowly, is Breathe, and that's gonna allow for Top Esports to fully join forces here around the top side of the map. Looks like just a tool to get Top Esports away from the bottom lane, as Creme ends up having to reset because of it. Hope maybe getting a little bit aggressive. Could have gotten spotted out here by Tian if he did not pull the trigger.
I mean, here's the thing, 9 flashes are available right now. Every single ult is also available on the map. There are so many tools to be able to fight with. TES, yes, is down almost 4,000 gold, but it's not like they're out of this game by any stretch of the imagination. They can still teamfight around this Casio if you can get the right engage off. It's just making sure that you don't make any mistakes. It looks like Dragon's actually going to be a bit of a priority here, spawning in 3 seconds. Top Esports are a little bit disconnected, but AL might be a little bit pincered here as well. Neither team wants to make a massive mistake.
Kael already poked out a bit, but so is Creme. He gets locked in here. The baby cage is going to chunk him down to half HP, and that Maiden's doing a whole lot of damage. Creme already has the Seraph shield popped, and now Tian is in a horrible position. He's going to get easily taken down by Breathe. The Blast Cone only delaying the inevitable, as it's 7-3 in the hands of AL, and they're going to pick up a Chemtech soul point.
Top Esports are so disconnected on the map right now. It has been a massive issue for them here in game number 1. It just doesn't feel like they are on the same page of what they want to do. Tian and Creme are way too far forward. JackeyLove can't feel like he can actually play the game because his tank isn't stepping up and actually playing around him. You know, we can call this jungle diff. We can call this, you know, a bad play coming in from Creme as well to get chunked out. At the end of the day, these plays can work if you're connected. These plays can work if you're on the same page, but Tian being in this area by himself is worst case scenario. Look at how much this Victor ult is doing on the backline. It completely zones out the Alistar, and now you have no engage. Tian has to use everything to disconnect from the rest of his team. It's a free kill at this point. This is not the first nor the last time we're probably going to see Tian in this bad spot, but the biggest issue for me is just how bad Top Esports have been at being able to set up around these objectives, and now AL has priority over this Baron if they do want to try and take it.
Looks like they don't want to start it up just yet, but they're in a great position to. I mean, take a look at Breathe. He's pushing in the bottom lane essentially for free at this point. Sure, there's only an inhibitor tower left to defend there, but we can just start to, you know, continue this split push here by the Yorick. And then Top Esports are either forced to respond with multiple members, or they'll just allow the base to be fully destroyed. And that will result in anyone's Legend having a good opportunity to eventually take down that Baron. And Tarzan has this Man United onto him. Kael, he just wants to get onto the map a little bit quicker.
I guess they feel like they don't need it for this next objective. They just kind of want Kael to be following Tarzan around, and if that's the case, that's fine. Zhuo is really overextended here.
I mean, he has Alistar also. He's going to be all right for now, but perhaps an unnecessary risk that Alistar just took. Nothing really to fight for at that point, and if Zhuo did go down, could have been an easy Baron start for their opponents.
I mean, no one was with him. There's no damage to follow up on. You're trying to get a pick onto the Shen, who's going to be able to survive a long time. That's Alistar ult down, and I get it's going to be up pretty fast, but Baron is on the table. If they start this up with no Alistar ultimate, it's going to be really scary to try and walk into it. For now, again, the problem with AL's comp in the back end of this game is that they're not really all that good at being able to force a lot of these objectives because they're more side lane oriented. They're doing a good job of keeping control, but Top Esports are at least keeping themselves in the game by not making a massive mistake and letting AL take this objective for free.
The gold continues to bleed further and further into AL's hands. 4,500 is now the lead, and in 3 minutes time, Top Esports will be forced to go for that fight. Otherwise, the Chemtech Soul will just go the way of the Pandas. I think one area that we got to look for at this point, obviously the bot lane, or just the backline mages here for Top Esports starting to really come online. We're seeing 3.5 items on both Creme and JackeyLove. But Zuian and his impact in this game have also been less than expected. Remember, all of the impact that he had in terms of snowballing this early gold lead for himself by taking the entirety of the bot tier 1 has not completely materialized. He's at 4 items, but it feels like his impact has been more or less obsolete at this point.
I mean, that's the real problem for me, is that there was a clear window for Top Esports to really push some sort of advantage when he had a massive lead in this game. It wasn't just him when Tian was still relatively neutral with the Lee Sin, and they played so passive throughout all of the mid game, just giving over objective after objective and, trading things on the map, that they got themselves into this point where their biggest strength is not really a strength anymore. It's more of a liability. Jace can't carry you in the back end of the game. This Lee Sin is down 3,000 gold. A lot of your playmaking tools are off the board. Even Alistar is going to get bursted down at this point. That team fighting identity that you wanted to build around Ryze and Casio, well, that becomes a much bigger problem when this Jarvan is so tanky with Guardian Angel that he can just run in, ignore all your damage, and Cataclysm your low mobility carries on the backline. Like, that's a massive issue, and if AL are just going to continue to dance around this Baron, start it up, and force Top Esports to make a decision, it's going to be almost
no
impossible for them to respond. They can't
the
even get here.
vision game has just been so good on AL's side. Finally, this blue ward is going to spot them out, but it might be a little bit too late. Tarzan actually flag and drags over the wall, trying to bait Top Esports into their own demise. JackeyLove immediately gets taunted up by Kael, and it's forced to burn both of his summoner spells, but now Tarzan could be in a little bit of trouble. Rove flashes in, lands a big pull, and JackeyLove's got the poison coming down, and Kael does not have the cure. First kill of the fight going TES's way, and now the snowball is starting to roll the other way. Miasma connects onto Shanks. He pops the taunt for a little bit of damage reduction. The poison is ticking down, but the Galio will survive. Still though, one kill into the hands of Top Esports, and they force the Galio back as they start up the Baron.
Zhuo, I've forgiven all your sins. Baron is on the table. Teleport coming through. The fight is still happening. Top Esports is pretty low. They should get this.
They're going to get the Baron. The question is, will they escape with their lives? Hope still at full HP, and Breathe has now been taunted up. Tarzan goes in with the flag and drag, lands a big knock-up onto JackeyLove, who was forced to go golden, but Breathe is still alive. Hope now flashing away. In goes Shanks, back from base, able to nearly take down one, and he then takes down a second. JackeyLove will go down next. The Arcane Storm raining hell upon Top Esports. It's a triple kill for Hope. He's not going to be able to make it a quad as he's a little bit farther away, but it will still be the ace secured for anyone's legend. They don't get the Baron, but they're pushing down 2 lanes and are going to swing this game right open.
Anyone's legend. They made it interesting in that final fight. They get caught in a choke point, overextending for a fight they did not need to take, but it doesn't matter. TES are able to throw at the Baron like they always do, and Hope, the player who's been criticized the most here for AL, steps up in a big moment on these mages to push them to a 1-0 series lead.
Yeah, still 15 seconds on Tian. The death timer is just too much at this stage in the game. Top Esports looked for their one moment back into it, but AL slammed the door right back in their face. Nexus down at 35-30, and AL up to a 1-0 lead.
There you go. I mean, that's exactly, I think, what we all expected from that point in the game. It's actually just so funny how things break down for these two teams. It feels like every time AL and Top Esports go head-to-head, there is one insanely weird play around a Baron that just throws the entire game. In this case, it's Top Esports getting the smallest glimpse of hope, actually winning a fight, being able to get Jackie to free hit on the backline because AL use all their engaged tools. But at the end of the day, it's an overreach. The Baron ends up being their death sentence, and it's well played by AL. I think if they had a slightly better team fighting comp, perhaps that game becomes a little bit easier, but at the end of the day, a win is a win.
A win is a win indeed. It's a slow, methodical gameplay, similar to, honestly, the way that AL used to really make their money back in 2025 when they were at their peak, right? With Flandre being this great team fighter, Breathe, I think, really filling in that role nicely this game. He didn't need a ton of jungle attention, but was still able to maintain his lead in that counter matchup, or maybe not a lead, but at least his dominance in a side lane, and that resulted in his team getting so much pressure, and AL actually might have found a formula that could work for them at this point.
I mean, that's it, right? It's just, let's get out on the map, let's roam, let's move around. That clearly is something that AL is very comfortable with. I think that there were a lot of things in this game that went in their favor. I think Top Esports being so patient in the early game was not ideal for Top Esports, at least in their, in their comp that they drafted for themselves. If you're going to pick Jace and Lee Sin and get a big lead on the top side, you want to take advantage of that. I think there were weaknesses in what AL was doing. I think they just played better in a lot of these exchanges. And I think that is the encouraging part, right? Is that Tarzan can have this big pop-off game on the Jarvan. Hope, in particular, was unbelievable in this game on the Victor. He was not just this big damage threat in that final team fight. He was a big damage threat throughout every fight. I specifically remember, I want to say it was the 4th dragon of the game, maybe it was the 5th dragon of the game, where he gets 2 ultimates off throughout the span of, I guess, a longer team fight in that area. Really important stuff. Just fantastic showcase by AL on exactly what they can do in this meta.
Yeah, I mean, the bot lane mages, we thought at MSI, right? And we were wondering, going into this LPL season, which team would be able to benefit from that the most? A lot of us did say AL, just being able to put Hope on the weak side, not having him, be on these like super hard carry lane dominant bottom lanes that were controlling the meta earlier on this year. And it seems like that is a style that has worked so far for anyone's legend. Obviously, they still did lose to BLG just a couple of days ago, but against a team like Top Esports, the other MSI representative, this was a very promising win and a sign of potentially good things to come.
Definitely promising. I mean, again, AL has kind of had TES's number. This is really something that has gone their way throughout the entirety of the year up until this point, let alone throughout the last year and a half, when they were playing last year as well. So, it's really something where you're looking at them kind of seeing Top Esports as their biggest competition for this number 2 spot. They're going to be able to win games like this consistently. That is a big, big benefit to them. The slower paced game definitely favored them in general in terms of their players. The question now is, how do you react? How do you respond, I guess, if you're Top Esports, and, what do you do moving forward? Because I think it's pretty easy to say that they made a lot of mental mistakes in the game, but honestly, TES look pretty tilted right now, just in general. It's kind of been the case throughout the beginning part of this split because of MSI. They're coming off of a weird series against Thundertalk. They need to rebuild momentum pretty fast here in Game 2.
Yeah, just never really felt like they had everything going at all the same time, right? And there was positioning errors that we can call out. I think that just in general, the team as 5 didn't look completely prepared for each specific moment here in these team fights. This looked like it could have been the opportunity for them to get back into the game by taking the Baron, but Hope just does so much here. Tarzan able to stay alive eventually once he comes back with the revive, and Hope just really dishing out damage to give AL their first win of the series.
I mean, the communication, the synergy, I guess, on Top Esports was just so low in this game. It never really felt like they were on the same page of what they wanted to do. Tian, Creme, they were very disconnected from what the rest of the team, was at. I mean, JackeyLove, we saw his damage chart at the end of the game. He did very little damage on the Casio. I think a lot of that is because he just didn't really have the opportunity to step up and fight. Zhuo was really far behind a lot of these plays. Casio was never really involved. It was just split fights every time. AL right in the middle, Top Esports on either side getting picked off and going in at different times. That kind of synergy is the difference between a team and anyone's legend that's been able to overperform at times in the past, and a team like Top Esports that seems to kind of be on the back foot right now. For AL, I mean, if you get Hope into positions like this where he can just take over in the late game, not worry too much about what his laning phase looks like, he's going to be good in that phase. And again, Tarzan had such a massive lead in the jungle. Those two players are essential towards AL's success chance.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will be looking towards Hope as that player of the game, but I was going to maybe throw some love towards Tarzan as well. 100% kill participation was part of some really massive fights. He set up a lot of what Hope was able to accomplish in the backline.
Yeah, I mean, Tarzan was the player of the game. He absolutely dominated a lot of the late game team fights in terms of those cataclysms and making sure that those low mobility carries on the other side really had no way to play. I do want to give a big shout out to Hope. I think he is going to get underrated for how well he played. Not all of it was just Tarzan setting up and creating everything for the team. I think specifically some of those ultimates to zone the Casio out of fights were really important. But at the end of the day, this was an AL team win, and I think they all deserve a lot of praise for it.
So Top Esports going to have to try to bounce back here in order to avoid their first series loss of Split 3 here in 2026. Headed to a short break, but before we do that, got to give a quick shout out to all of our Elite Coffee supporters. And if you would like to support LPL English, you can consider becoming a coffee member. It is the best way to support the LPL English project, with the vast majority of your contributions going directly to the show. A lot of the initial payments have gone into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it also pairs on-air talent and content creators like ourselves. You can subscribe to the coffee. It is linked in our chat right now to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. Thank you to all of you watching here on LPL English. We'll be right back.